Most bad decisions don't happen because of carelessness. They happen because your brain, silently, pushes you in the wrong direction. You think you're being rational, logical, calculating every angle, but beneath the surface, invisible forces are steering you toward choices you'll regret. These aren't obvious mistakes. They're automatic, silent, and deeply psychological. And the dangerous part? You don't even know they're happening. In the next 8 minutes, I'm going to reveal 7 psychological errors that are sabotaging your decisions right now, and more importantly, how to recognize them before they cost you. Let's start with the first one, overconfidence bias. Intelligence creates overconfidence. The smarter you are, the more certain you become about your own judgments, and that certainty becomes your blind spot. You make quick decisions without validation because you trust your gut, you trust your experience, you trust your ability to figure things out. But here's the problem. Your brain is wired to feel confident even when it shouldn't be. Studies show that experts are often more overconfident than beginners because they've been right before, so they assume they'll be right again. Think about the last time you made a snap decision at work, a hiring choice, a strategic move, an investment. Did you pause to gather contrary evidence, or did you just know? That feeling of knowing, that's not wisdom, that's overconfidence, and it's one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. Second, confirmation bias. Your brain doesn't search for truth, it searches for validation. Once you form an opinion, an idea, a belief, your mind becomes a filter that only lets in information that supports what you already think. You read articles that agree with you. You listen to people who think like you. You interpret ambiguous evidence in ways that confirm your existing view. This happens everywhere. In your career, you might stay in a job you've outgrown because you keep finding reasons why leaving would be risky. In investing, you ignore red flags about a stock because you've already decided it's a winner. In relationships, you overlook incompatibilities because you've committed to making it work. Confirmation bias doesn't feel like bias, it feels like clarity. But it's not clarity. It's selective blindness, and it keeps you locked into decisions that no longer serve you. Third, emotional attachment. You get attached to ideas, projects, relationships, strategies, even when the evidence screams that they're wrong. This is called the sunk cost fallacy. You've already invested time, money, energy, so you keep going, not because it makes sense, but because walking away feels like admitting failure. Think about a project at work that's clearly failing. Everyone sees it. The data shows it. But you keep pushing because you were the one who proposed it. Or a business idea you've been working on for years that never gains traction, but you can't let it go because of how much you've sacrificed. Emotional attachment makes you double down on bad decisions. It makes you throw good money after bad. It keeps you stuck in situations that are slowly draining you. The smartest decision makers learn to separate their ego from their choices. They ask, if I were starting fresh today, would I choose this? And if the answer is no, they walk away. Fourth, recency bias. Your brain overvalues recent events and undervalues long-term patterns. One bad week can make you think an entire strategy is broken. One great month can make you think you've cracked the code. This shows up in performance reviews. Someone makes a mistake in November, and suddenly their entire year is judged by that one incident. It shows up in investing. The market drops for a few days, and people panic, sell, forgetting decades of historical growth. It shows up in relationships. One argument makes you question everything, even though you've had months of stability. Recency bias creates emotional whiplash. It makes you reactive instead of strategic. The antidote is perspective. Zoom out. Look at the trend, not the moment. Ask yourself, is this a pattern or an exception? Most of the time it's an exception, but your brain treats it like a crisis. Fifth, self-justification. Your brain is a storytelling machine, and its favorite story is the one where you were right all along. After you make a decision, especially a questionable one, your mind goes to work, crafting a narrative that makes it seem reasonable. You tell yourself, at the time, it made sense. You didn't have all the information. Anyone would have done the same. And maybe that's true. But here's the danger. Self-justification prevents learning. If you can't admit you were wrong, you'll keep making the same mistake in different forms. You'll hire the wrong people again. You'll invest in the wrong opportunities again. You'll repeat the same relationship patterns again. The best decision makers practice brutal honesty with themselves. They don't defend bad choices, they dissect them. They ask, what did I miss? What did I assume? What would I do differently? That's how you turn mistakes into wisdom instead of excuses. Sixth, negativity bias. Your brain is hardwired to focus on threats, on problems, on what could go wrong. This was useful 10,000 years ago when survival depended on spotting danger, but today it sabotages your decisions. You get 10 compliments and 1 criticism, and you obsess over the criticism. You see a business opportunity, but all you can think about is the risk. You consider a career change, but fear drowns out possibility. Negativity bias makes you risk-averse in situations where boldness is required. It makes you overweight the downside and underweight the upside. It keeps you playing small because your brain is screaming danger when the real danger is staying stuck. The fix isn't ignoring risk, it's balancing the equation. For every fear, force yourself to articulate an equal opportunity. What could go right? What could you gain? What's the cost of not trying? When you train your brain to see both sides, you make better, braver decisions. Seventh and final, the illusion of control. You believe your skill, your effort, your strategy can influence outcomes that are mostly driven by luck or factors beyond your control. This shows up everywhere. In financial decisions, people think they can time the market, pick winning stocks, outsmart systemic forces. In business, leaders think they can control customer behavior, market trends, competitive dynamics. In life, you think you can plan your way to certainty. But the truth is, most of what happens is outside your control, and pretending otherwise leads to bad decisions. You take unnecessary risks because you think you can manage them. You blame yourself for failures that were largely circumstantial. You credit yourself for successes that had more to do with timing than talent. The illusion of control makes you overestimate your influence and underestimate randomness. The smarter move is to focus on what you can control, your effort, your learning, your adaptability, and accept the rest as variables you navigate, not dictate. So here's the bottom line. These psychological errors don't disappear. You don't outgrow them. You don't become immune. But you can manage them with awareness. Every time you make a decision, pause and ask yourself, am I being overconfident? Am I only seeing what I want to see? Am I attached to this because of ego? Am I reacting to recent noise? Am I justifying a bad choice? Am I focusing too much on the negative? Am I assuming control I don't have? The people who make the best decisions aren't the smartest, they're the most self-aware. They understand how their brain works, and they don't let it run on autopilot. You can be one of them. Start today. Claude é uma IA e pode cometer erros. Por favor, verifique as respostas.